Hello and welcome. I'm Al Barrows, and this is UFO Disclosure, the podcast that's meant to show an average person's reaction to all the UAP, UFO news from everywhere and anywhere. So, are we getting closer to disclosure? According to government officials like Representative Paulina Luna, we are. This is Representative Paulina Luna. She's leading the effort in coordination with the White House, the DOD, the DOI, and Representatives Burchett, Burleson, Nancy Mace, Gill, and Bo Burt. The first hearing is supposed to be in March.
It is with profound honor that I have been entrusted by Speaker Mike Johnson and Chairman James Comer to lead the House Oversight Task Force on declassification of federal secrets. Together with the help of the White House, our intelligence allies, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, we will be conducting investigations into the following: the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and Dr. Martin Luther King, unidentified aerial phenomena, also known as UAPs, unidentified submerged objects, also known as USOs, the Epstein client list, the origins of COVID-19, and the 9/11 files. This task force will be a beacon of bipartisanship. On the Republican side, Representatives Burchett, Boebert, Burleson, Crane, Gill, and Mace will be joining me, although I'd like to note that I'm expanding this to the entire governing body and will be allowing certain members to waive on. Our first hearing is set for March. The date will be announced soon, and we've already initiated close to a dozen communications with various agencies, to include Pam Bondi at the Department of Justice and the Secretary of State. This will no longer be a task force that makes bold promises only to fade into irrelevance or send strongly worded letters. This will be a relentless pursuit of truth and transparency, and we will not stop until the American people have the answers they deserve. We will cut through the bureaucracy, challenge the stonewalling, and ensure that the American people finally get the truth that they have been denied for too long. If we are to endure and thrive as a nation, we must restore trust through transparency. The American people must be trusted to think for themselves, to form their own judgments from the truth that they are entitled to know. We've been treated like children for too long and kept in the dark by those we elected to serve us. It is my solemn duty to begin mending this trust, to form a new relationship between the government and the governed. Let us embark on this journey together towards a government that does not serve, but one that enlightens. That does not just serve, but one that enlightens. Trust through transparency, that begins now.
Okay, so those are some strong words from Paulina Luna. What is she hoping to accomplish? And is she going to bring out more secondhand whistleblowers, or is it going to be firsthand whistleblowers this time? I know she mentioned that there's going to be more of a concentration on evidence.
We're hoping to present that information and at least acknowledge it from a government perspective, that we are not alone, but also let's see what the evidence is.
Here's Matt Laszlo, who works out of Washington. He hounds all the government officials about UAP transparency, and he happened upon Paulina Luna as she was leaving the White House and asked her specific questions about what's going on with this new task force. So again, this is Matt Laszlo asking Paulina Luna about the declassification of federal secrets.
Hey. So congratulations,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairwoman. So you know there's going to be disappointment in the community saying, why lead with JFK? Why not just focus on UAPs?
We're doing USOs and UAPs. But we have, so the task force is typically set for 6 months, and this is the first time that we're actually getting a task force that's going to be focusing. And so I'm hoping to set up a congressional delegation to a friendly country that actually has a fully declassified program, has a program for disclosure that's already been set up, which to my knowledge those exist. But also too, looking into what we can get declassified from the Pentagon. If there is anything, the Secretary of State, as you know, Rubio has been very supportive.
And now, like, this is a lot. Epstein, 9/11, UAPs. Like, are you going to get a staff?
Yeah, we have the staff. So we have multiple attorneys working. We have actually the entire oversight staff is at our disposal to work on this.
And when it comes, like, do you know when you may want to have your next UAP hearing?
It's going to be probably after JFK or maybe after Martin Luther King, but we're definitely having two. We're going to have one specifically on UAPs, USOs, But also, again, I'm not just trying to have another hearing and bring in people. I want evidence, and so that's what we're pushing for, and that's why we have the letters that's going out.
And so you're hoping that more whistleblowers might approach you all.
I'm hoping to find evidence.
Yeah.
Declassified evidence.
And now, have you been able to look into the latest whistleblower, Jake Barber's claims? No. Did you guys ever have a official follow-up with Grush?
They denied, so the last administration and agencies denied his security clearance, which is why we couldn't get back into the SCIF. So that's going to be followed. Can we get him an active security clearance for breaking into SCIF?
Yeah, and so that's going to be a top priority. Maybe off screen.
Yes, 100%. But now that we have a task force, we can actually do something.
Okay, so that was Matt Laszlo, and he addressed the fact that the task force is going to be dealing with several topics, like the 9/11 files, the Jeffrey Epstein files, the JFK killings, the Senator Robert F. Kennedy killings, Dr. Martin Luther King killing, the COVID-19 origins, and of course, for the particular interest of this podcast, I'm going to be concentrating on the task force's work on UFOs. She also said that they would be investigating USOs, which are just submerged UFOs or UFOs that travel beneath the water. But there's going to be some disappointment because the task force is going to be starting out with the JFK assassination. And Matt Laszlo tried to get her to explain why there was not a focus on UAPs. She also said that they're looking into getting declassification from the Pentagon, and that the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has been very supportive, and that's a good thing. Of course, asked about Jake Barber, famous for the egg UFO retrieval, and she said that she is not aware of him or not aware of his claims. He then went on to ask about David Grush, which we've all been wondering about for this past year, where he's been, if he's still tied up in legal issues. And I think he still will be until June. There was a reporter that came out and revealed that he was having some PTSD issues and tried to make him look bad, or created a smear campaign against David Grush to make him look bad. And David Grush, of course, took him to court, and he'll be tied up with that until June. But Paulina Luna did say that the last administration and agencies denied his security clearances, which is why, quote, we couldn't get back into the SCIF, or the sensitive compartmented information facility. So that's when we followed up and tried to get him an active security clearance for working in the SCIF. Okay, so they're actively working to get him a security clearance. We might be seeing or hearing from Grush again. And Matt Laszlo asked if that's going to be a top priority for them. And Luna answered, yes, 100%. But now that we have an actual task force, we can actually do something, end quote. And she seemed to be concentrating not only on whistleblowers, but she keeps saying that she's hoping to find evidence. So there's going to be more of a concentration or focus on evidence rather than secondhand whistleblowers. They want to declassify evidence, in other words. Here's David Grush during the UAP congressional hearings talking to Jared Moskowitz about how certain special access programs avoid congressional oversight, misappropriate funds, and overcharge the government to conceal their activities.
Or do you have reason to believe that there are programs in the advanced tech space that are unsanctioned?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you say that they're above congressional oversight, what do you mean?
Complicated question. So there's, some, I would call it abuse here. So congressional oversight of conventional special access programs, so I'll use Title 10, so DOD as an example, right? So 10 U.S. Code Section 119 discusses congressional oversight of SAPs, discusses the DepSecDef's ability to waive congressional reporting. However, the Gang of Eight is at least supposed to be notified if a waived or waive bigoted unacknowledged SAP is created, and that's public law.
Well, so that how does, I don't want to cut you off, but how does a program like that get funded?
I will give you generalities. I can get very specific in a closed session, but misappropriation of funds and
Does that mean that there is money in the budget that is said to go to a program, but it doesn't, and it goes to something else?
Yes, I have specific knowledge of that. Yep.
Do you think U.S. corporations are overcharging for certain tech they're selling to the U.S. government, and that additional money is going to programs?
Correct, through something called IRAD.
Okay.
So what is Luna's task force doing about this illegal spending by USAPs that Grush revealed there? What have they done so far?
Yes, in fact, the letters went out this morning, not just on RFK, JFK, and MLK, but on everything that I listed above to include UAPs, Epstein, and 9/11 and COVID, to the State Department, Department of Defense, CIA, and then also we'll be sending some to the FBI, and letters have also gone out to the NSA.
Thank you.
Okay, so the task force that's being headed by Luna has already requested information, and she says that the letters, and I quote, letters have already been sent up asking for information about the JFK killings, the Martin Luther King killings, and also including asking for information about UAPs. And these letters were sent to the State Department, the Department of Defense, the CIA, the FBI, and NSA. Now, what worries me is that this information request is being sent through snail mail or the U.S. mail. One wonders, is there a faster way of going about this? Or possibly maybe they just want full documentation of that request? Just seems like a very inefficient way of asking for information from agencies that are specifically known for delay tactics and for hiding information and overall obfuscation. So what are the biggest problems that Representative Luna anticipates?
The biggest information problems that we've had with the UAPs is the amount of stonewalling, stovepiping, and also it seems that there is this push to gaslight the American people into looking at the evidence and then not fully believing it. I think for us, if we're writing the budget, for example, into the Pentagon, if we're writing the budget overall for whatever programs might be out there, why is it that members of Congress who are given a top secret security clearance are being denied access? That's not a free and true government. And so for us, especially being that we have now a Secretary of State who's actually open to declassification and Marco Rubio, we're hoping to present that information and at least acknowledge it from a government perspective that we are not alone, but also let's see what the evidence is.
So one of the other issues besides stonewalling that the task force might have is subpoena power, which means their ability to bring in whistleblowers or evidence on demand. And there was a bit of confusion there when the reporters asked Representative Luna about it. Chairman Comer had to step in, and he claims to have subpoena power himself.
Chairman?
The task force does not have subpoena power. I do. The task force is going to be subsidiary of the full oversight committee. So if we have to issue one, Congresswoman Luna, we'll discuss it and we'll take appropriate action.
But in full transparency, we have a great working relationship, as I stated earlier, with the White House, with the DOJ, with the Secretary of Defense, and the Secretary of State. The incoming FBI director, I think, will be very supportive, and we've also been told that the CIA director is very supportive. To put it in perspective, I think that this issue transcends not just one administration, but multiple administrations, and it hasn't been until now that we've been able to get people actually in positions of power that will push for transparency. Now, if I find that different entities in the various intelligence agencies are stonewalling us, I'm going to make that known to the American people. But as of right now, we are cautiously optimistic.
Okay, so there you have it. Our government is a bit confusing. I guess the task force falls under this subcommittee that the Chairman Comer is in charge of, and he has the subpoena power himself. I think the main takeaway from that clip is that Representative Luna pointed out that now the leads in the FBI and the CIA, we have people in charge there that are more open to government transparency on the UAP issue. She also mentioned that Marco Rubio, the new Secretary of State, is also more open to UAP transparency. So those are three big pluses there as far as future disclosure. Okay, so I just wanted to give an update on what we can expect from our government as far as UAP transparency and any moves towards further disclosure. But aside from the government, there are other things that possibly might be on the horizon. Just want to remind everyone what Greer said not too long ago about a major data dump to the media.
Pivoting to, which is very important, is that we're sort of moving beyond the whistleblower phase, and we're advocating for a group that are now defecting from these covert black sites who will hand over to us the dispositive evidence and proof, which we will then provide to you, Bianca, and the media. This is a very bold step. Yeah, well, it's a very bold step. This is something that's just happened. We have a special access project within law enforcement working with us, as well as a group of people who are at 6 different black sites running programs, including reverse engineering ET craft and the man-made ones.
Stephen Greer also said this not too long ago.
The information they're going to give me as they come forward, because they've gone to ground now, they're only communicating with me. I'm going to hand off to every celebrity and every media outlet and every influencer I know. And I need you guys to do the same thing. And it'll be open source. It'll be on a site that is blockchain protected, that's now stood up. And it's got to be seen by several billion people within a few days. So that means it's got to go wide. We're not talking about ufology and a handful of UFO nuts known about this. And the reason for it is that this summer he came to my place in Washington. And he says, we don't want to risk our lives and our families' lives. And the main guy has 3 children. 2 of them are still fairly young. And he doesn't want to have his whole family killed for no good reason. In other words, where this gets released and it's a tree that fell in the woods nobody heard. So I said, let me put together this asymmetric disclosure where regardless of what the bureaucrats in Washington do or London or anywhere else, it's seen by a large number of people. It's like what I've always said, you squeeze the toothpaste so hard out of the tube, it cannot be put back in. But listen, everyone listening, if you're an influencer, if you've got a YouTube channel, a Facebook, TikTok, X, we're going to have it on a site where you can download it and put it everywhere. So this has got to go viral and it's got to go hard. Now, I don't have a date. All I'm told is between now and early January, but we're going to need your help. This cannot be scrubbed and erased by the corrupt mainstream media. It's got to go everywhere.
Okay, so I know that Dr. Greer has lost some credibility and he's a little late on that data dump, but one can keep their fingers crossed. And if he ever does do that, I'll certainly provide it here on my platform. And as far as Jake Barber, famous for his UAP craft retrieval activities, when he was questioned about the grainy and poor quality of the egg craft retrieval that was shown by Ross Coldhart on News Nation, he replied by saying, "Great question. There are a couple of reasons. We'll be sharing those. We're giving this new leadership a chance to review it since it may contain national security data." Okay, so let's not rule out Jake Barber and his Skywatcher team yet. He claims that they're still waiting for the new administration or the new authorities to review any future information that he might want to put out for any conflicts with national security. And even better, Ross Coldhart from News Nation just confirmed a huge data dump, possibly the one Stephen Greer is referring to, from many defectors.
Clearly, I have many other sources inside the legacy program. Clearly, there are other people talking to me. And clearly, I've been able to procure the video from the retrieval program in a completely separate operation from Jake Barber. Barber did not give me that video, period.
That's was it taken from Barber's craft, though, I guess is the question. No. So it's if anything, and again, I'd almost have to watch your show again because I think that the initial rush of comment was people going, somebody said, well, by the way, that wasn't even taken, that's not related to it. And they put them together. But
you know what I find? It's funny, you give the UAP community what they want. And they come galloping over the hill like the cavalry going, oh, it's all a CIA psyop. It's all bullshit. Don't trust them. They're all false flags. And then you had other people saying, oh, it's an aerogel balloon. Don't you think if it was an aerogel balloon, the Pentagon would have been out on Monday morning, first thing, saying, this is complete bollocks. This is an aerogel balloon.
Right.
I mean, the bottom line is they know what we've got. They know what we're sitting on. And they're very nervous about what we're going to do with the rest of what we've got. And they'd better make a decision.
Can you define they? When you say they?
The gatekeepers. The gatekeepers. The people who are sitting on this absurd secret. We're doing them a favor. We've actually been what Americans want us to be, respectful of national security, respectful of the imperatives of protecting key national security issues. We understand that there are certain aspects of this program that need to be protected. But what we don't understand is why the American public cannot be told and why a lie persists that humans are not engaging with extraterrestrial intelligence. They are. Now, whether you call extraterrestrial or interdimensional or alien or non-human, the simple fact is we are engaging as a species with non-human intelligences of a highly advanced nature, with a highly advanced technology, and we've been recovering their technology for years.
Okay, so I know that Ross Coldhart lost a lot of credibility when that egg-shaped craft retrieval was shown. And he's sort of on the defensive there. He's disassociating that retrieval video from Jake Barber. But he also said some other significant things. He said that he's still sitting on a lot of data, that he's wary of putting out. He's waiting for approval, making sure that it's not in conflict with any national security. That seems to be what Dr. Greer is worried about and what Jake Barber is worried about, making sure that whatever data they put out is not in conflict with national security. Okay, so as far as disclosure, I know it's not much, but we are getting some movement from the government. They haven't given up altogether. And I know that Dr. Greer and Russ Coldhart aren't always the most reliable. But let's not forget that we still are making progress to a certain degree. Only a few years ago, government officials wouldn't even utter the word UFO unless it was associated with the punchline of a joke. In just a few years, we've gotten reverse engineering programs revealed. We've also gotten a pro-disclosure president and at least 5 times more credible whistleblowers than in previous decades. We've gotten congressional hearings on UAPs. And most importantly of all, we've gotten a heavy destigmatization of the topic surrounding the UAP phenomenon. My name is Al Barrows. This has been UFO Disclosure. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks. Thanks for listening to my podcast.